Richard Avedon is unquestionably the greatest fashion photographer to have ever lived, but do not make the mistake in limiting his work to that one genre. Over the decades of his career, Avedon not only displayed popular culture, he took part in its creation. From his early work at Harper's Bazaar to his political portraiture, Richard Avedon revolutionized the profession of photography. Born in 1923, Richard Avedon was raised in an environment that incubated his artistic style.
Father had a woman's specialty shop. It was called on Fifth Avenue. Yeah. It was called Avedon's Fifth Avenue. Yeah. And Harper's Bazaar, Vanity Fair, and Vogue were in the house every month because they had to be kept up to date with what was going on in the fashion business. So I saw the most beautiful photographs by Munkachi, by Steichen, by Bruhl, of theater, and of fashion, and the ones I liked, instead of putting baseball players' Dixie cup tops on my wall, I just tore them up and scotch taped them onto the wall, and I was surrounded by the great photography of the 30s as a sort of a visual influence. My father was a teacher, and he explained the principles of photography to me, because the Eastman Kodak box brownie was the big event in the mid-1920s when I was born, late 1920s. Every house had a box brownie, and it was so exciting to take photographs. And my father wanted me to understand what a negative was, what light on a negative did, and how a negative then reversed the process and printed on a sensitized paper. Right. And I was 9 years old. So he did it with a magnifying glass, and so I was burning the edge of the carpets off and setting the drapes on fire. And then I kept thinking, burning in, now I had this beautiful little sister. She was absolutely wonderful, and we photographed her all the time because she loved to pose and she was so pretty. And I took a negative of my sister, and I taped it with, we didn't have Scotch tape, we had surgical tape in the house, onto my shoulder, went out in the sun, went to the beach, actually, and spent the whole day. The sun burned through, and I peeled it off the next morning, and there was my sister on my skin. Now, as a metaphor, that's pretty hot.
After dropping out of Columbia University in 1942, Avedon joined the Merchant Marines, serving as photographer's mate second class. He left after 2 years of service, and that is where his journey as a professional photographer took off.
And I was like 19 or 20, and I went straight from the Merchant Marine, which meant straight from my home, to my mother, my new chosen mother, father, and crazy aunt. Brilliant crazy aunt. Brodovich was the father. He was really very much like my father. Very withdrawn and disciplined and very strong values. And then there was Carmel Snow. So the humanity came from Carmel Snow. Then there was Deanna Vreeland, the eccentric, the crazy aunt in the family who just exploded with imagination.
Under the care of these mentors at Harper's Bazaar, Avedon's photographic style had the room to flourish. In the 1930s and 40s, models posed like statues, beautiful and stoic, but Richard Avedon brought movement and life to his photographs. While accompanying Carmel Snow to shoot the new collections, Avedon was able to capture the glamour of pre-war Paris.
Paris was not like Paris at all. You know, it was in rubbles. Everything was bombed out. And the French industry and the fashion magazines wanted him to photograph the elegance of Paris, but it didn't exist. So he went and he created sets. When he put someone at a pinball machine, the bistro was not like that. So when you see the people, the women coming out of their limousines, that was imagination.
By showing his version of Paris in the pages of Harper's Bazaar, the readers were transported to a new realm of beauty, and even the designers were affected. His photographs of Marella Agnelli for the April 1954 issue of Harper's Bazaar influenced the work of Christian Dior's next collection. During one of these trips in 1955, Avedon enlisted the help of a few local performers at the Cirque d'Hiver, and with the help of Dovima in a Christian Dior gown, captured the single most acclaimed photo in the history of fashion photography.